In the bustling streets of Benin City, where red dust clung stubbornly to shoes and the air carried the hum of traders and motorbikes, a little girl named Osarag learned very early what it meant to be forgotten. Her parents had once been inseparable, or so the neighbors said. But love turned bitter, and arguments became louder than laughter. One rainy evening, when Osarag was just 6 years old, her parents separated. In the storm of their anger, they forgot the smallest voice in the room. No one asked where Osarag would sleep, who would feed her, or who would wipe her tears. Each parent walked away, assuming the other would take responsibility. Neither did. For months, Osarag moved between relatives who saw her as a burden. Some days she hawked groundnuts by the roadside after school, other days she missed school entirely to help with house chores. Hunger became familiar, and loneliness became her closest companion. At night, she would stare at the ceiling and wonder how two people who created her could forget she existed, yet, in the middle of her pain, a quiet determination grew. Osarag loved school. Even when her uniform was torn and her books incomplete, she sat in the front row, listening as if her life depended on every word. When illness swept through the neighborhood and a kind local doctor treated her for free, she watched him with wide eyes. That day, she decided, I will become a doctor. I will heal people who feel invisible, just like me. Secondary school was a battlefield. She woke before dawn to fetch water, studied under dim lantern lights, and cried silently when school fees were unpaid. Sometimes, she thought of giving up. But each time she remembered the little girl who had been abandoned, and she promised herself she would not abandon her dreams too. Against all odds, Osarag passed her exams with excellent results. A scholarship opportunity appeared, small, competitive, and almost impossible to get. She applied with shaking hands and a heart full of hope. When her name was called, she cried openly for the first time in years. She had been seen. Medical school was harder than anything she had ever known. Long nights, endless exams, and moments of doubt tested her spirit. But she endured. Each white coat ceremony, each passed exam, felt like reclaiming a piece of the childhood she had lost. Years later, in a modern hospital in Benin City, Dr. Osarag adjusted her stethoscope and smiled at a young patient whose eyes mirrored her own from years ago. She was no longer the abandoned child. She was a healer, a survivor, a symbol of resilience. Her parents, now older and full of regret, heard her name spoken with respect. But Osarag did not become successful to prove them wrong. She became successful to prove to herself that abandonment does not define destiny, and in the same city that once watched her struggle, she stood tall, rooted in pain, blossoming in purpose.